I would tell them to go ahead and put their house on Section 8 so they can get a tenant because they're not going to get any kind of tenant to move in their house because for one, they wouldn't have to worry about anybody living in their house because for one, if you got children, you're going to take care of the property. And if you're a landlord and you rent on Section 8, you're going to get your rent money. Your tenant's going to pay their rent. They're going to keep your property up. Section 8 come out and do their once a year inspection. Section 8 is going to make sure everything is kept up. You sign an agreement with your tenant not to tear your place up. So I would say, go for it.
Hey guys, Rhett here. What is going on? I am absolutely thrilled to bring you LaShunda. LaShunda is in the Housing Choice Voucher Program, and she has agreed to come on here today to talk a little bit about her experience and what it means to be a tenant in that program, what the program means to her. First of all, LaShunda, thank you so much for coming on here today.
Thank you for having me.
So, LaShunda, like we talked about a little bit off air, but before we got on here, I want to take this wherever you want to take it. So wherever you want to, whatever you want to talk about, whatever you want to do, we can take it wherever. But before we really dive into everything, just tell me a little bit about you and your background and what got you started with Section 8.
Well, I've been on Section 8 18 years.
Wow.
And I needed it because I had a little girl at the time and we didn't have anywhere to go. So I got on Section 8, but at the time, Section 8 was giving vouchers out the same day. So that was a blessing towards me because I got mine the same day.
Right. And now
And I've been on it ever since.
Wow. And now it's a little bit longer. It's harder to get that voucher now, right? Because so many people are trying to get them.
It is. It's like 3 months. It's 3 months because they have to do a background check. Then they have to, check your background. Then they have to check your income and all that. So it's like a 3-month waiting period from when you get it.
Yeah. And LaShunda, so what you said right there, them checking your background, not a lot of people know that that's what the HUD does. And that's what the housing authorities do to make sure that the people that get the vouchers like you are good people. And one thing that I always talk about on the channel is that some of the best tenants that I have and that I've ever had are on Section 8. If there was one great benefit to the program, what do you think your favorite part is about the Housing Choice Voucher Program?
I love my worker for one. I had the best worker. Her name was Miss Kidd. She was the best worker. And for two, I love the fact that they make sure everything is the way it's supposed to be before they give you the house, before they let you move in. They want everything in standard condition. I like that.
Yeah. And so your caseworker, what kind
And
of
my caseworker, she's at the moment, I don't know who my caseworker is because, they're dealing with a lot of transition over to a new Section 8 because they got new workers. But the workers that I had was very nice. And which they still do have good workers down there. They still do. A lot of them is very nice there. They take the time out and they listen at you. And I like that. But you write out what your problem is and they deal with it.
Yeah.
And they will get back with you.
That's great. So they've been really good for you over the past 18 years.
Yes. And so the house I was in for 10 years. Then she moved me out because it was in bad condition and she moved me to a new house. And I love her for that. And the house she moved me in is way better than the house that I was in because it was in poor condition. And moved me to another one.
Which is great. And are you happy with that house that you're in right now?
Yes, very. So she made sure that I was satisfied.
Good. So part of what I do, LaShunda, is I help investors create those kinds of homes and how to be landlords and how to treat people respectfully, how to do things the right way. And that house that you're in right now, one of my clients created that. And part of it is making sure that you are going to be a great fit for the unit, which you were, and finding the right landlords and the right people to create those units. And go ahead.
I love my landlord.
Yes, yeah. And LaShonda, the Section 8 program, so you've been on it for 18 years. It sounds like you've had a really good experience so far. And one thing that you mentioned is super important, but the condition that you move into. And one thing Section 8 does is they are very rigorous with the inspections. When you first move in there, that house is going to be in good shape, right? Because of
Yeah.
the lengths they go to.
Yes.
Yeah. And that helps everybody. And just like it helps you knowing you're going to get a good property, it also helps the landlord, because they know that, hey, the work I paid for was done the right way, or I know that I'm providing a really good place for my tenant to live. And one thing I talk about is, if you provide a nice place to live, the person living there, like you appreciate that. And you're going to therefore treat the place nice.
Yes. And you're going to keep it up because, you don't want nobody coming into something that you wouldn't want to live in. So when Section 8 came in and inspected, everything was the way it was supposed to be. It was no doubts, no nothing. They went ahead and passed it because it was up to date, and she did everything that I asked her to do. She comes out and she do it. So, everything's where it's supposed to be and everything's nice.
Good. And have you ever had a landlord that hasn't been good?
Yes, the house I was living in before my new landlord got it. That's the house that I was in until she stepped in and bought it.
Okay. Yeah.
And
Okay.
that's when she pulled me out of that house. It wasn't a good house because they had sold the house 4 times and it was getting molded and making my children sick. And she stepped in and she bought it and she pulled me and my children out of that situation.
That's great. And why do you think some of the landlords let the houses get into that shape?
Some of them don't want to do the work on it. All they want to do is collect the rent money. Now you have some good landlords and you have some bad landlords. Now I have had 3 of them because they have sold the house so many times. But when they find out the work that need to be done on the house, a lot of landlords don't want to do it. But now
Right.
you have some landlords that will do the work on it to keep their house up and to keep their tenants satisfied.
Right.
Now me, when I go into a house, I don't move like that. I stays put.
Right.
I mean, you have some good landlords because I have one now because she knew the house that I was in when she bought it. She said it's not good for you and your children to stay in. I'm gonna move y'all out, put y'all into another house, and she did.
That's great. And then it gives your children a place to grow up where they're not subjected to mold and situations that the landlord's not taking care of.
Hmm.
Um,
And the landlord that did have the house, she said she wasn't able to keep it up no more. So she sold it and it was just going back and forth, but she sold it and everybody was trying to buy it.
yeah. And that's why, it's so important to have the right landlord, and to make sure that the landlord you have has has an understanding that there's a human living in that house, right? It's
Yeah.
not just the rent money. You have somebody with a family, and the things that are done in that unit, they need to be done just like they're living there. And that's why I love the situation that you're in now, where the person that owns it, they care about it. They care about you. If something goes wrong, it gets fixed. And it's a nice place to live that allows you to live a comfortable life, and a life where you don't have to deal with things not getting fixed and that are going to affect your everyday life.
Yes, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love my landlord because if I called her, she's gonna get on it. She's gonna send somebody out, or she's gonna send me a text and say, "Hey, somebody will be out here tomorrow." She be on it, and I love that about her.
And that's great. And LaShonda, so you have a lot of great things to say about the program. Are there any things about Section 8 that you don't like?
No, no, because they've been really good to me. I don't have a problem with them. So no, I really haven't had a problem with them because they all nice down there. Treat you with respect.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of them treat you with respect. Then you have some that having bad days and be rude to you.
Right.
But a lot of them is they very nice to you and they take the time out to talk to you, to see what the situation is and they go over stuff with you.
Yeah. Which is nice.
which is nice. And then, they make sure they don't put anybody into their unit when they run their background check on you. They make sure that everything is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
They're not going to let, a pedophile or anybody like that move into their places.
Right.
And I like that because you never know who living next door to you. And if they're on Section 8, you don't have to worry about it because you already know Section 8 and did a background check on them.
That's such a great piece of knowledge, LaShonda, that not a lot of people know. And one thing that I love about that is, that if you have a neighborhood and everyone in there is Section 8, you don't have to worry about your kids going to the wrong house to go trick-or-treating, right? You don't have to worry about them playing out in the front yard because everybody on that street has been background checked. If they're on Section 8, you don't have to worry about that stuff that normally you would have to worry about in some other neighborhoods.
Yes.
LaShonda, would you change anything about the program if you could? If you could change anything, is there anything that you would change?
Yes, I would. I would tell them I need a utility check. But no, I wouldn't change that because I like it the way it is because they're sitting their way. They strict. They do what they're supposed to do, and they come and go. They don't bother you. I don't bother them, so they don't bother me. So it's no problem.
And LaShonda, why should landlords who are not currently renting to Section 8 tenants, why should they rent to Section 8?
They should rent to Section 8 tenants because, for one, they know they're going to get their rent on time. For two, if the tenant is paying rent, they know they're going to get their tenant rent too. Mm-hmm. And they know that if they rent to Section 8, they know that they fix their house up and Section 8 is going to take care of their houses because Section 8, you sign a paper with Section 8 saying do not tear up your landlord's house, right, or you will be responsible for the damage. So that's something that they should want to do. They should want to rent to Section 8, to make sure their property is kept up in good conditioning and they got the right tenants in there. Right. Because they don't want these houses so up, and because if they don't rent the Section 8 and with the people out in the street, then that way people move out and won't pay them their rent money. But if you rent the Section 8, you in a 12-month lease, you're gonna get your rent money that whole year.
Right. Right.
So they should rent to Section 8 because it's a good program, and a lot of them would give it a try. They would like it. Because a lot of people say Section 8 is hard. It's not hard as they think it is.
Yeah.
And it's who you rent to them. You rent to your right tenant, you're gonna get, your rent money, everything gonna be fine.
Yeah. And LaShonda, if that landlord in that house you're currently in, if they're good to you and they treat you the right way, would you stay in that unit for a really long time?
I would. Yes, I would.
And you've been living, you've in the past, you have had bad landlords. So you've been in the program for almost 2 decades. You understand the value of being in a home where someone takes care of it.
Yes.
And a lot of people who have been in your shoes, they don't want to lose that. They don't want to go to another house and then get stuck with a terrible landlord like you had in your last one. When you find a home where the person takes care of you, you want to take care of them. And it's such a
when you find a home that you love, you take care of your home. And when you find a landlord that you love, you take care of his property because your landlord would take care of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I totally agree, LaShonda. I really do. And, a lot of people that are watching this right now are thinking, okay, I want to buy a rental property. I want to do Section 8, but I'm a little bit hesitant and they don't know why. What would you tell them if they're right on the cusp of wanting to put a Section 8 tenant in their unit, but they're just not sure yet?
I would tell them to go ahead and put their house on Section 8 so they can get a tenant because they're not going to get any kind of tenant to move in their house because, for one, they wouldn't have to worry about anybody living in their house because, for one, if you got children, you're going to take care of the property. And if you're a landlord and you rent on Section 8, you know you're going to get your rent money. You know your tenant's going to pay their rent. You know they're going to keep your property up. You know Section 8 come out and do their once a year inspection. Section 8 is going to make sure everything is kept up. You know you sign an agreement with your tenant not to tear your place up. So I would say go for it.
I think that's great advice. I really do. And LaShonda, with those inspections that come once a year, what are those like? And who's doing those?
Well, I had Mr. Johnson to do one, and he come out, you know, just to make sure the water on, the lights on, the gas is on, you know, make sure the windows is lit up and down. He makes sure the stove is working, the refrigerator is working. He makes sure there's no holes in the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Come out and check to see if your house will pass inspection for the next year.
And
So I would tell the tenants to make sure you keep your house up. And if you got a landlord, you call your landlord a month before your inspection to let them come out and do the work so you won't have a problem. You go ahead and pass your inspection. Because they come out and do an inspection, that would prolong your landlord from getting paid because your landlord only have 10 days now to get the work did onto the property. So I would say if you know you got an inspection come up, call your landlord in ahead of time. Tell them, well, I need my window fixed because Section 8 is coming. Let them come out and do their work so you can go ahead and pass your inspection.
that's great advice. And part of that is because of those inspections, you get to make sure that they're held accountable. So they have to keep the unit to a certain standard. But at the same time, they, as the landlord, know that no one's tearing up their unit. And it's good for you and it's good for them. You vet people the right way and you check their background, you check their references, you interview them, you meet them to make sure that they're going to be a good fit for you and for your unit. So LaShonda, anything else that we didn't touch on today that you think the viewers should know about Section 8 or the program or being a Section 8 landlord?
It's a good program to be on. And if you want to, give it a try because it helps. And landlords, I would say, give them a try. Make sure you get your right tenants to move into your house. Get the right person. It's a good program.
Absolutely. And guys, please leave your questions, comments for LaShonda below. I'm going to send her the link once this is out so she can get in there, answer questions for you guys. And LaShonda, thanks again for coming on today. And guys,
thank you.
We'll see you next time.